Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. This is the instant reaction postgame show. Notre Dame beats Miami of Ohio 28-3. Didn't look good in the beginning. Got better after I said Leonard needed to be benched.
Right,
so
like literally right.
Good job by me there. Listen, we talk about the segues. A perfectly executed reverse jinx, Jamie, is just as good. What are you looking at? What happened?
Michigan 3rd and 1. Khalil Mullings just broke one on 3rd and 1 to take it into the USC red zone.
Oh my, we're monitoring that situation. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, it didn't look good early. I put out the reverse jinx tweet. You're welcome, Irish fans. That's a good job by me on that one. So Notre Dame wins the game 28-3. A lot of unhappy people in the chat. Understandable. Didn't look good. It was pretty ugly in the beginning, Jamie. But winning is better than losing. And here's the good thing, Jamie. Here's the good thing about this football team and this football program. You don't really have to take anything from this because you spin the Marcus Freeman. What are we going to get wheel for next week? It could be anything, so we'll have to check that out. What's going on with the I haven't been looking at the games. The Louisville Georgia Tech game. What's that situation currently?
I didn't check it at the end. It was like tight, and Georgia Tech was like driving when I last checked. I'm checking that right now. So
while you monitor it, you know what? Jamie's
Louisville up 31-19 with 3 minutes left.
Louisville's up 31-19. They're going to come to South Bend undefeated, it looks like, and that's a good thing. Jamie's checking that out, and you're going to want to check out ESQ Clothing. They finally restocked all their bamboo dress shirts online. You've seen all the ESQ shirts on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches, and they're made from proprietary fabric that's cooler and softer than cotton. It's the perfect dress shirt for any occasion. Go to esqclothing.com. Use ISD15 to get 15% off your order. That's ISD15 for 15% off. Jamie, let's get to the comments here. We've got a couple super chats right now. CFB Hertz. Let's just start here. We don't have to sugarcoat this anymore, right? The offense just blows goats yet again. So look, I think we got to be honest brokers here, Jamie. We got to be honest brokers. At the beginning of the game, the 3 and out is just kind of whatever, right? Like you didn't get a first down on 3 plays. I think the next drive, you're driving down the field. Leonard goes the full Wimbush on this drive. He's throwing the ball over heads. He's throwing it in the dirt. He's throwing it wide. The body language is completely shot, right?
Wasn't good.
He looks terrible mentally. He looks like he's in a terrible place. He's getting booed, right? We talked about this, Jamie. The full pucker was in, and here was the problem that I had with the whole thing. Okay, I thought Marcus Freeman's body language during this point
horrible.
Was just like, dude, you can't let that happen.
Not good.
Like I don't care if they're booing you or whatever it might be. You know, you can't have that kind of body language. I throw the challenge flag on that. I did not like that from Marcus Freeman in this game. Okay, but once they went down and scored the touchdown, Jamie, I thought if at that point I thought they played in a way that is like, you know what, like this isn't all terrible, right? Now look, Leonard, the fumble on the long run, unacceptable. You can't have that. Jaden Greathouse, please hit the ball out of bounds. You're on the thing. You don't have to recover it. Just hit the ball out of bounds and move on with our day. But there's a lot of throughout the game, there's a lot of just like, what is going on with these guys? Mentally not locked in, making mental errors. The recovering the fumble thing, I don't put in that category because it's just like, you know.
No, it's like he didn't make a heads-up play.
It's a fluky thing, right? Like but it's just like not making heads-up play. They're doing fluky stuff. They're doing a lot of sloppy things, Jamie. But look, we'll just put up the stats now. 428 yards for Notre Dame's offense. Leonard rushes for 143 on 12 attempts. 16 to 25, 154. He did finally hit a touchdown pass to Bo Collins. Jamie, so I think that after the start, once Notre Dame scored a touchdown, and they kind of got they kind of got things rolling at that point. I kind of view the offense in a different way than everybody else does. Where do you come out on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you took like from like the fourth drive on, the offense played pretty well. Like they did. Like Leonard played pretty well. Like, I mean, I'd say you could say he played. Not pretty well. I wouldn't say really well because he still missed some stuff that he should have hit.
He did.
But I would say too, he was making he made throws today that he hasn't made all season. And it's not just the deep shot to Collins or whatever, but even those other deep shots were like, he gave those guys a chance, like he gave them a chance and they went for it and took those shots and got a couple PIs off of that.
Yeah.
The throw to Mitchell earlier, but right before he made the throw to Collins was probably the best throw he's made all year. And I mean, he probably doesn't make have the confidence to make the throw to Collins if he doesn't make that throw.
Yeah.
Before. So he made some really good throws in this game. If the start of it, it was like so ugly. And I think you know what? I mean, obviously a lot is on him, and then there's other pieces of it too. Like, there's the bad snap on special teams. There's the bad, phase on muffs the punt. Like, there's all these kind of things that, compounded stuff. But
yeah,
I gotta say, like, Marcus Freeman, use those freaking timeouts, man. Yes, I understand. We're worrying about the middle eight and stuff like that too. But you have to have the pulse of your team. And when your team is kind of like falling apart, like they were at the moment, call some timeouts. Like that's what you notice when you see like Chuck Martin was like, he's not wasting those things. It's like, that's an experienced head coach there, like doing it. It's like, hey, we need to talk this over for a second. Mm-hmm. Like we could try to rush to the line here and try to get a play. But no, we're not going to, even though he's calling it at like 11 seconds on the clock, right? When it's like they had time to still run the play, but he knew that they were going to rush it. They weren't going to get what they wanted, whatever, all that. He knew that it was like an important thing. It's like, no, let's sit back and just, relax and figure stuff out here. And that's something too that like Thomas Hammock did with NIU in that game too, right? It was like he called timeouts at the right time. And it doesn't matter if his team's on offense or defense, like using it. Like there was just points in the game where the team was clearly like rattled and you had a chance to settle people down and you didn't. And they played their way out of it. But if the defense didn't dominate really for like large portions of the game and kept getting stops, then they wouldn't have played their way out of it. And you can't always rely on that. You can't do that. If they start out like this against Louisville and you're not using the timeouts, I mean, I don't even know. Like you have to be able to like reset your team. And I thought that was the biggest thing too, is like, you can say like, I don't think like they came out and it's like, man, they weren't fired up. Like, no, that's not what it is. They come out to get a stop right away on defense. And then it's a muffed punt. And then they get, a turnover in the red zone. So it's like, okay. But then it's obvious the offense didn't like click on that first drive. And then, I mean, James Rendell, props to him, really like had a great game, right? Had a great game. But like you get into a situation where like you're putting the defense has to do all of these kind of things here. And the offense was clearly like, as soon as Riley Leonard throws that one that wasn't even close, I'm calling a timeout. And I'm getting everybody, I'm like, let's chill here. Let's get Mike Denbrock. That's why Mike Denbrock's on the sidelines. Hey, talk to him. Mike, talk to your guys, whatever. Get everybody talking to the people. Get everyone settled down. Regroup here. Because they could have still got something going on that drive there.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was like, that just was like a bad sign. It's like, you can't, considering like the psyche of what the team was, and then you could hear like the crowd was so quiet. There was like groans and whatever. Like And I mean, don't check Twitter during that time because people were just losing it. Like, you have to know that. You have to have a better pulse there. And that's just a poor job by him. Like, I really, really think that was a really poor job. Because if they would have just got them settled down there, then it wouldn't have taken that. I don't think it would have taken that long to get going in the game, because like you look at the final numbers in the game too. It's like they average, like, basically when Leonard was still in the game, it was like 7.1 yards per play.
Yeah.
Like, they rushed for 245 when he was in the game. Like, he rushed for 143. Like, they moved the ball all basically at will after that, horrific start. And he threw the ball well and was like moving the ball in the right way. So I just don't. It didn't need to come to that, and that's kind of like my big point of like how that kind of looked from that perspective.
You can't go full pouty guy. You just can't. Like he
No.
he was pouting. He was sulking. He was like basically like a fan in the stands, like how fans would react to these things. And like you can't do the thing with Texas A&M and then afterwards be like, that was intentional because I was trying to fire up my team and show them that I had their back. It's like Riley Leonard throws some bad passes, and they're bad passes, right? Like we're not gonna like pretend that they're not. But he's going full pout. Like he just, the complete lack of poise from him and just control of the situation. Like I'm not a big fan of that. And I was not happy with that. The thing that was difficult for Leonard too is the game plan called for them to just be like everything's going to be short. Everything's going to be precision. Like we're not throwing it deep. We're not pushing the ball. Like everything is going to be like, he's going to think about all of these throws that he's making right now. And he has the opportunity to short arm them and throw them in the ground. Some of them were good. Some of them weren't. And I'll give Riley Leonard credit. Like it really seemed to me like they were about to go in the tank. Like him and the whole offense and everything. And he pulled it together and he played better. Now, the better that he played, I don't want to make it seem like he was a Heisman contender, right? You made some throws that it's like, yeah, dude, you're Notre Dame starting quarterback. Like you got to make these throws. Like the throw to Bo Collins, that's good. It's a good throw, right? I'm not gonna say that this is like you're gonna be a first round pick or anything like that. Like you got to be able to make that pass. And a lot of this is like, hey, like you got to be able to build on this, right? I don't want to say that Riley Leonard has arrived as a quarterback. I think it's true, though, that it's pretty clear they're ready to ride it out with Riley Leonard. They're not going to go to Steve Angeli all willy-nilly like that. They would have pulled him today. I truly believe that. If they felt like Steve Angeli was an option for them, I think they would have pulled him. Maybe they were waiting till like they got down a touchdown or whatever it might be. But thank you for another super chat from Brian Chesanek. Riley took a step forward today. Throwing the rock was great to see after the struggles early. You both do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you for that, Brian. I really appreciate those words. I thought he did take step forwards today. That's another thing. He did. He made the types of throws that you have to make. People got on me when I said he made a real, like on when Mitchell Evans, they called interference on him. That was a really good throw by him. And it wasn't his first read. He stepped out in the pocket. He was, scanning the field, made a throw to Mitchell Evans, right? And they got the interference call. And then he made the two terrible calls. And then people got on me for that. But I thought he made positive strides here, Jamie. I also liked what I saw from like Chris Mitchell had a couple contested catches in this game. And that was good to see from him. He was targeted 4 times. He had 2 catches for 25 yards. Jaden Harrison had a couple catches, and then Bo Collins. So, like, what did you see out of Riley Leonard and the types of throws that he was making that you feel like, yes, like this is something that Notre Dame can build on here? You're muted, Jamie.
I mentioned those deep, he made the deep holds. Yeah, those aren't like, they weren't a thing of beauty, but it was like he threw where you gave the guys a chance and put it right on Bo Collins. Like, it's exactly what he needed to do. So, yeah, that's good. They threw the ball deep. Like, they've barely thrown the ball deep. Like, there weren't going to be a lot of chances. So you had to take your chances when you got them. And they did. And he threw it. And those were the right reads and all that. Like, that's what I thought too. Like, there weren't like plays where you're like if, I mean, obviously we'll go back and watch it. We'll see the all 22. We'll see all that.
Yeah.
We'll look at all of it. But it looked to me like he was making the right reads all day and making the right decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, and he hit some intermediate stuff, which I think was big. And then I think a lot of that stuff after that basically after that one like worm burner to Evans on that same Collins drive, he threw those like hitches well. Like there was really like maybe like one throw the rest of the time that wasn't like what you want out of that. So that's big. And also they threw the ball enough too that, if teams are going to sit on that stuff, all the short stuff, then you will attack them deep. And that's key because they have the receivers that you can go and just like give them a shot at it. So I think that kind of thing I think that was big. Like, it's not like I don't expect teams to play. They're going to play Leonard a certain way, right? Like to play the run and all that too. But if you can just hit enough there, it can open it up. Like the problem is if you play a team, and Notre Dame really hasn't played a team, the closest they have is A&M in terms of like a D line that like, hey, they can just kind of take over at times and just like kick the snot out of your guys up front. But I do think like what I'm seeing from the O-line in general too is like you see way more movement up front.
Yeah.
The O-line played well in this game. And I understand like, yeah, it's Miami of Ohio. Yeah, they should be doing it. But it's like they weren't doing it as well against
I don't
NIU.
I don't think the line is at a place where we can poo-poo it against any opponent.
No.
Because you said Miami of Ohio is a good defense. They do have a good defense, right? And I just don't think that we can – they are at the point – any good performance from the line is worth noting and not even caveating because of the youth and because of the fact that they're down 60% of what they wanted to play. They want to play 3 other starters on the line right now, and they can't. So I don't think we can caveat any performance from the line at this point. Just kind of what you just said there.
Yeah, and so I think there was a lot there that to like, and I thought really too, a lot of the stuff that didn't work was like when they were running stretch, and I just didn't think that was like you weren't going to have success against Miami running stretch. So it was like when they ran inside zone, when they ran downhill, like they looked good. They looked really good. So I thought that was a really something to kind of build off there. And I know Matt here says about like how they only gave 17 carries total to Love and Price. And yes, but they just didn't run that many plays. So I think
they didn't have that many plays today. Let me just, I'll check it out while you're total plays, 64 plays. It's just not that many. It isn't like 25 pass attempts, right? And not just that, but like Devin Ford got 5 carries. Aeneas Williams got 2. Like that's 7 carries, like end of game that they're out of the game that are going away, right? Yeah. So it's like, yeah. And look, the other part is like you have Riley Leonard also, who ran the ball 12 times for 143 yards. Like we talked about this. He can do that, right? Like Notre Dame ran the ball. Like I understand like people are going to look at their total carries. They ran the ball 36 times for 270 yards. It's not a bad rushing day, you know? And I think people who I think the thing that people need to be honest about, truly honest about, and just consider, had Notre Dame pulled Riley Leonard and Steve Angeli came in and had the exact same performance as Riley Leonard did after they started, after they scored that touchdown. If Steve Angeli played the exact same way, everyone would be talking about he is the answer. this is the path forward. This is how Notre Dame needs to play, and this is the
Oh
way
yeah,
what they need to
100%.
do. Everyone would be saying that, right? Like, look, I'm in the boat of like when I saw at the beginning was like, you got to get him out of there. It just seemed like he was done mentally, and so that's kind of where I came at it, and he went out and played much better, right? And so I just think that's what Notre Dame's going to go with. And I think we have to be honest about what we saw after that, right? It looked a lot better than it had been. Frankly, to be honest with you, and I'll bet, and look, come back to me on Tuesday after we watch more tape. Riley Leonard played better in this game after that first quarter than he did in the Purdue game.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh,
from a
yeah,
passing
yeah.
standpoint. Like
Yeah.
that is true, right? Like we do have to be honest about that, and that's what we saw, right? Now, it doesn't mean that that's like fixed and everything's fine. Like obviously that play is still in there. I'm not convinced that it's like this is what it's going to look like moving forward, right? And I'm not convinced that he is going to end up being good enough for Notre Dame to run the table here. But I'm just saying, like, after what we just saw, the way that he played, I think that was the best play that he's put together this season so far. And I do think we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, definitely. Like he's, I think what Brian said, it was like a step forward for him in a lot of ways. It just because he really just, in order to gain confidence from people, like just outside observers and everyone, like he needed to start better, and he didn't.
For
And that's
sure.
kind
He
of why.
absolutely did. Like
Yeah.
it was the worst. It was the worst start he could have had. Truly. Like not just the fact that if they weren't having good drives, he's throwing the ball on the ground, Jamie.
Yeah.
It was the full Wimbush. It was the full Pine first quarter cow.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe it. And I am getting ready mentally to come on this show and be like, I just can't believe this. So it is what it is there. I think that the fact that he personally was able to persevere through it, was tremendous from him. I think it gives them a chance moving forward. And I think there is something that they have to build on. They do have to build on it, right? And CFB Hertz, who is he's in every show, and he is a level-headed guy, right? He's out, right? And CFB Hertz says, and Jelly has room to grow. I think 100%. I truly believe Riley Leonard has room to grow here, 100%. And I think when you have a guy who rushes the ball 12 times for 143 yards, you got to give him that chance. You got to give him that chance. You just do. That's where I come at. I'm not CFB Hertz is my guy, right? He's been in this show. I don't even want to say he because I don't even know. It could be a nice young lady. That's fine. But it's just like that's where I come out on this. You have to give him that chance based on what we saw.
Yeah, and I think I mean, obviously, as someone mentioned too, like NIU lost in overtime today, which I don't know, like how that game went or whatever. Like, from the numbers, it looked like they struggled offensively, which kind of makes sense, right? Like it wasn't really a good offense, guys. They scored 16 points. They had a lot of chances just to do more, and they only scored 16 points against Notre Dame. And like, they kind of everything kind of hit for them, like, which is ironic because Thomas Hammock said after the game that they didn't need to be lucky to beat them. They just need to play their, no, they got lucky. Like
Right.
they absolutely got lucky. And if Notre Dame staff did a terrible job of being like, Riley Leonard can't run, we got to take him out of the game. If he can't run, like that's really kind of what it kind of boiled down to, because if he would have just ran in the game, they would have just won the game. Like they would have, and I mean, wouldn't have been pretty, but they would have won. And they can still beat a bunch of teams by him running the ball like this. But yeah, it's not going to be, you're not going to beat teams that with like really great defenses. Like, I don't know if Louisville has like a really great defense. I think they have a pretty good one, but like, I don't think they have a great one. So it's just going to depend. It's going to depend on that. Like,
yeah, like you can clearly see how it's like if they take away things from Notre Dame, I mean, it's just you can't count on it, right? You just can't. I mean, I personally don't like to do the thing where it's like you got to get them out of the game. I hate doing that, right? Usually because it's like, I have the opportunity to be wrong, but it is part of the reverse jinx that you do. But like, I don't like doing that. But it just felt like, and I'm curious, like, did you think they had to pull him? I haven't talked to you about this. Do you think they had to pull him out of the game?
I thought that it was like, I didn't think they had to pull him right then, but I thought it was like the next drive. It was like this drive. I honestly thought that drive, I was like, this drive, this is it for Leonard if they don't have success here. That's what I thought at that time. It was, this is it. This is the last chance. And then they, then they scored, and then he, he played well in the second, in the end of the second quarter.
Yeah.
From that point on, right? So it was just kind of like, even really, even if you think about it, the fumble was like really like the only thing in the second half that really like was the really bad thing.
Yeah.
That happened from it too, right? So I think like how he played from the rest of the way is like, yeah, of course he's going to be the starter the next game, and he's going to just keep going. It just, they have to go and look at it through. I mean, I think if it's one of those things too, if they were down, maybe that changes it too. But it was still very much in the game, and Miami didn't do much of anything really on offense for most of the day, right? So, it wasn't like they didn't have the same kind of drives that NIU was having, where it's like, 5 first downs and then nothing or whatever, right? Like, it wasn't like that for them. Like, it's so stupid, like the Jason Garrett thing, where he was saying that, well, they need to, I really like what Miami's doing.
What they're doing. He loves what they're doing.
He loves what they're doing. They chewed up 6 minutes of clock and got no points out of it. Like, it took them 5 minutes to get 4 first downs.
Maybe they got in the red zone by like a yard, like they're on the 19.
They got on the 19. Yeah, they got on the 19.
He's just fluffing. He's just fluffing the opponent. That's down, I guess. Yeah, that's all he's doing. Like, he's truly just fluffing them. Which is unbecoming on his part. Here's the other thing about the Steve Angeli piece, right? They put Angeli in the game today. They did the same rollout with him. That it was the same kind of play that actually it was the same play that Riley Leonard hit to Jaden Harrison in the red zone, where they got him on like a little kind of a pick route. It was the same play, and it was open, and Angeli was late. He was late with the throw, and then he threw it in the stands. That was a bad throw. And I was watching that thinking, if Riley Leonard did that, like, people would be freaking out. And they did. Like, that's exactly what he did in the first half. Like, people got to be honest about that. Like, he did. Like, he made the same kind of bad play, and he doesn't have the legs, right? And if he's showing that in practice, like, everyone thinks that, like, if Steve Angeli had thrown that pass to Bo Collins, that was a perfect throw. I mean, it's like he didn't have to break stride. He didn't bring the DB into it. Like, he cooked the DB. It was a perfect throw. If Steve Angeli made that pass, people would be freaking out right now. They just would. So I just think people have to understand, like, Ryan Leonard is just the way that he played in that, and from the second quarter on is a better version of what Steve Angeli is. That's just true. And that's where I come out. Jamie, let's talk. This has been very Riley Leonard centric. Where do you come out? Well, the defense was obviously phenomenal in this game. I thought Boubacar Traore played a great football game, especially in the first half. He was creating a whole bunch of havoc. Someone asked about sacks. He had 2 himself. He had 2 sacks himself. They marked him down for one quarterback hurry, one forced fumble. He probably had more hurries than that. Quarterback hurries are like one of the
I
worst
wouldn't even
track stats.
those hurries. They don't really.
It's one of the worst track stats
Yes.
in football. Period. So I thought he played a great football game. Hey, question. Okay. Did they just get Ben Morrison out of there because is something wrong with him?
No, I think they just took him out just to.
Did they just take him out because they wanted to give reps to Leonard more?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
tracking.
That's what I saw, because I never saw anything that didn't happen. And here's the other thing: is like I know they tried him like a couple times, but like, man, it's got to be boring for Ben Morrison. Like, no one gets thrown to less as a boundary corner than him. Like like typically that's who you're. That's your boundary is your guy, like who's your, on receivers, like that guy's going to get typically the most targets.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they just don't throw to him. Like they went after Christian Gray mostly because they were like, well, we're not throwing at Morrison. And obviously, like, Gray certainly didn't play perfect, but he obviously made plays too. So, that's good. I was glad to see him get a pick after he, basically dropped another one where he broke on it perfect. I think it was they were just doing that to get in. And like, I mean, Schuler played really well, minus that just dumb penalty he took, which was just don't do that.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Just don't do
it. You can't give him the opportunity.
There was zero need for that. So, learning lesson and just hopefully whatever, right? Because the other thing is you could just put that ball around. You could say all you want, just don't throw the ball to them. Like, just don't do that, right? Like, but I mean, he did play really well outside of that, and I think Jordan Clark played well again. I mean, really, I thought the defensive line played really, really well in this game. I mean, Junior Toyamaka was playing really well. And it wasn't just that the pick, like I thought this was easily the best he had looked off the ball.
So full credit for him.
Yeah. And because he has not played that way off the ball. And it was mostly because he's not the twitchiest guy. He's not as twitchy as Botello or Traore. But if you are, and he is a smart football player, if you are anticipating the snap like that, you can get a jump and all of a sudden have like a huge advantage. And that's what he was doing. And it made a big, big difference. And I think like, in terms of like Miami, like running the ball like early and having success and having a little bit of that too. Like, I just don't think it's a big deal, because that's just what they're giving them numbers in the box, right? Like they're giving them numbers and saying like, we don't really think he can really run it the whole way on us. And then turns out they can't really, like, and even the thing is too, is like, as you look at like that end of the game drive where they, they ran it on them. It's like, that's the time that you can't run it on them. Like you have to stop doing it. And also when the pass defense is this elite, like 3.4 yards per attempt for Gabbert in the game. Like you can't do anything. Like they couldn't do anything really, right? So like I don't even know. Like their EPA in the game was per dropback was minus 0.66, which is the second percentile. So like that's how dominant the pass defense was in the game. Like, and they just don't really give up. And I thought Miami had some like nice concepts and stuff too. Like they threw a bunch of stuff at them that I was like, that little like wheel stop route. I'm like, that's a good play.
Yeah.
That one where they ran like the stack release with McDonald, which was like, man, that is a really good play and was well executed. And they get it, but it's like, well, you get like one there. It's like you get that 16-yard gain, but it's like, oh, that's it. Like that's kind of what you had to do to get it, because you can't really like go through, like, even the stuff where they're just running like, hey, we're just running like a hitch here, or just like a little curl route to the tight end. It's like, that's not open like that. They are all over it. Like X Watts is just like was like glued.
He is so good, man. Like
He's playing at an extremely
does
high
not
level.
mess up. He does not. I am so impressed with him. Truly, he like, and the thing is about him too, Jamie, is the things that we're talking about with him is the man coverage stuff, which is like, sometimes you talk about a guy where it's like, how is he going to get better? How is he going to improve? X Walks had two questions, in my opinion, coming into the season. A, could he tackle better? And he has tackled much better than he did last year. And B, how was he in the man coverage stuff? It's not that he was bad last year. It's just like he wasn't in it as much. No. They put him in man a lot, and he has been just a lockdown guy. I mean, I'm so impressed. He is just such an impressive player.
There's no way his draft stock isn't like going way.
It's just like he has answered every question every single time. And like he was a prime just candidate. Not that I expected this because I didn't expect it, but just like a guy where it's like he reached his ceiling and then he kind of came back down to earth. He never comes back down to earth. He just keeps going up. He's like the interceptions haven't been there this year. It's some of those are just kind of circumstance. I think he's playing better this year than he did last year.
I think he is too.
Yeah, it's amazing to say to follow up that performance. I can't say enough good things about Xavier Watts. Truly, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. Vamos Irish says Jaden Mickey DPI malarkey or legit. I thought it was legit.
I thought it was legit.
He was pulling down his jersey. I thought it was a good call. I can't believe Don Schuler didn't get that.
Schuler got so lucky.
I mean, that was the most obvious call of the day.
That was a bad non-call by the ref.
Yeah.
Like it should have been PI 100%.
Not a good one. I thought the Rod Hurd DPI was that. I thought that was malarkey. You can have the hand there. He's not.
You see that all the time. It never gets called.
Yeah.
I thought that was like the situation of the game of being like, hey, let's throw these guys a bone, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was a pity call, and I don't like pity calls. Do you there's a run defense question here. Let me just go back here. Let's look at it. It's one of those things where it's like Miami of Ohio was so bad running the ball coming into it that like any rushing yardage for them is going to look bad, but 28 attempts for 110 yards. Brett Gabbert, so he's 6 for -9, right? So you take away, that foolishness from him. You've got the running back, or let's see, Mosey, number 3, 6 for 36, 6 yards a carry, 10 for 34 from Brunson. He's their main running back. So 3.4 carry, that's not a big deal. Cade Davis, 2 for 29, 14.5, 4 for 20. For Downing. So we're talking, 119 yards on 22 carries from non-quarterbacks, right? If you can get anything over on this Notre Dame defense, it's on the ground. Purdue didn't even really try it for reasons that are understandable. They were down by 100. NIU was able to run the ball. Texas A&M had success running the ball. And
I mean, somewhat, but it's not like Miami, they weren't Ohio. Like, I just don't think they're not gashing them. Like, if people think getting like 8 yards and then, hey, they got a first down on this drive, like, that's not gashing them. Like, the one drive where they did gash them was the drive where they had to throw it. Like, they had to throw it. So
that's true.
So, I mean, you give them the credit for they get those yards there. And I mean, I thought they probably should have stuck with it a little bit more, but it's like, I do think that there are times too, like when they get caught in it. Cause like, and I think there's a lot of things that Heinisch does well and he plays super, super hard. But I think when Heinisch is in there, like if I was the opposing team, I'd run the ball a lot. Like I just do it because he's a guy that unless it's perfect, he's going to get moved in the run game, like nobody else on up front, right? So I think that's like a big difference. And if you're switching like Gabriel Rubio out for him, it's quite a big gap in terms of what you're doing with the run game. And I still think like there's still stuff from the linebackers where it's like it's not perfect. You know what I mean? Like obviously you look at like that Snead play on like 3rd and short, like that's a big play. Like it was a really, really big play. Like there's things like that. Like you want to see like just a little bit more consistency there from like the backers in terms of just like, reading it and seeing it at a certain level. But like, I don't know, like they're playing like too high on that on that drive where they're running. It's like, well, yeah, you should, if you can't have success running against too high, like might as well just give up. Like you might as well you're not gonna be able to do much. Like I think it's like I don't read it like they're gonna play like Army and Navy much different than they play this game. Obviously, they're gonna play other games differently as well. And I think, if I definitely think that if it was like you're playing, say, Michigan, how they did today, what they did against
USC, you win a game with 32 yards passing.
Yeah, like, I mean, that is the kind of thing. Like, I would be worried about if teams are like gonna go like 12 personnel and they're just like, hey, we're just gonna keep running it and run it and run it. Yeah, I do think that's something that I think people should be worried about. But no one does that. Like that on Notre Dame's schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like even Georgia Tech, that's not how they run it, right? Like they're a horizontal running team. They're like a quarterback run team and they are, an outside zone team, right? Like that's who they are for the most part. So it's like it's different. It's different. And you could say, like, I don't know. I do think there are some things too where you're like, when you're looking at like Notre Dame plays so many people, you're looking at depth and all that. And like maybe like in certain games, maybe they shouldn't play some people as much. And also you got to remember, like, Burnham isn't playing, and Burnham is a much better run defender than RJ Oben too. So that's like another thing. And it's not like I don't think Oben was bad or anything in this game, but I'm just saying, like,
he just doesn't pop.
Yes, he doesn't pop. And
yeah.
So there are things like personnel wise that would help them a lot if they get like Rubio and Burnham back. Like that's going to help them. I just don't think it's enough of a concern based on what we've seen that it's like, man, I'm not worried about Georgia Tech running it down their throats yet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We'll see. Like, obviously this is going to be a test for them against Louisville. Like, I didn't look to see how that game went for Louisville, but like how they ran against Georgia Tech. But like they got athletes, they got some backs, and Joe isn't like the best runner, but he can move.
Yeah.
But it was like a very like pass heavy game too. Like here's Louisville rushing 27 for 57 in this game, right? Like Donald Chaney 23 yards. Like is that scaring you? Like I don't know. Like I don't think they have Jawar Jordan anymore, right? So
yeah.
And I mean so many teams play like, yes, we're going to take away the run first and whatever. They're still that's very much there, but then 3 points is 3 points.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like I when I'm watching the game, I'm like, man, like they shouldn't be able to run this well. And I've said that a few times, not necessarily Miami, Ohio, but like a few times. You just say, man, they shouldn't be able to run this well at all. They've given up 13, 16, 7, and 3. And I feel like it's all in the context of like you want to get the ball back because your offense is struggling and they don't have points. And it's like if it was already 28-3 and they're running the ball that well, it's like, well, that's annoying, but it doesn't really matter. Like they need to be throwing anyway, as to your point, as much as Jason Garrett loved it. And it's like that's kind of the deal, right? Like it's 110 yards, 122 yards or whatever it might be if you want to take away the rushing yards. Or I'm sorry, 119 yards if you want to take away the quarterback runs. Like it's not what's gonna hurt. That's not what's killing them, right? And look, Al Golden has said, like, this isn't my concern. This is not how you win in modern college football. Which isn't to say he ignores it completely. He obviously doesn't, but it's not killing Notre Dame, and it's not the reason. Notre Dame is struggling in these games because the offense isn't scoring enough to make it a big difference.
And I want to point this out too, because I think it's a good thing because to point out is that teams have scored 2 touchdowns on 8 trips in the red zone.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were running down their throats, they'd be running it there.
They'd be running in the end zone. Yeah.
And they're not.
That's a good point.
Right? They're not. So that's the thing. Like, so because obviously you play different, you play in the red zone because the field's constricted and all that too, right? So that's all part of it, right? That's all part of it. Like, I think like you look at them on third down too. Like now I'm pretty sure they're going to jump into like the top 10 and third down or whatever, because they were like 2 of 13 against on third and fourth down in this game.
Yeah.
Like the havoc rate, 26.6%. All of a sudden, hey, boom. Couple games there, the havoc rate is gonna go up another like 2 or 3% in this game, right? Like,
yeah,
they made a ton of plays. They made a ton of plays again, right? And it's just like, and the thing is too, is it's like spread out throughout. There's a bunch of guys doing it. Obviously, it's like, you know, Cross gets a sack. Boubacar is obviously doing things. X Watts makes a couple plays. Christian Gray, like Ben Morrison had a breakup. Like it just spread throughout. Like they just have a lot of guys who can make plays, and they got a lot of great athletes.
Yeah. Special teams are special, right? They add to an already good base on your team. They can make the big difference. And so Notre Dame special teams makes a big difference today. The way that VSR Media can make a big difference for your media, for your small business, for your social media page, or whatever it might be. And you want to head over there. They're founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Jamie, dare we call it a breakout game for James Rendell? 4 kicks, 189 yards, 47.3 yard average. Jamie, he had a long of 54. Was that his first? What is that? His first one?
His first one was 53. So
53. Yeah. So he had a 53 and a 54 yard. I mean, banged it. I mean, that was a bomb.
Like big hang time too. He just didn't boot it.
It was a fair catch. It had to get, when you have a 54 yarder that has to be fair caught. That's the stuff right there. And that's what Notre Dame needs from him. So it was good for him to get that off the back. Jason Z says, did you like our Notre Dame's reverse on the kickoff return?
I liked it, but obviously I didn't like
What was the penalty?
They called it, I think, a block in the back on Tuihalamaka.
I didn't see it.
I didn't really see it when they showed the replay. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll try to look back.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I thought it was good because Notre Dame's they've been close a couple of times with their right return that they have with Jaden Harrison. And like the special teams coaches, they see it, right? Like they see on tape how Notre Dame's blocking that up. So to change it up with Jeremiah Love, I thought that was a good call, and I liked it. And look, obviously they executed it well, right? Like you can have a well executed kickoff return that doesn't go the distance. So that was a good job by Marty Biaggi. Bryce Young blocks a field goal. So that's long, right? Long. That's a good job by him. Messed up the snap on a field goal attempt. Don't like that, Jamie. The last I want to say the last 3 field goals have either been blocked or they had a fumbled snap. Is that correct? Because I don't think Notre Dame. Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, they kicked
did
one
kick a
in
field goal.
Purdue.
They did kick a field goal against Purdue. So 3 of the last 4, the mechanics have been not what you want. So I think the Rendell piece is a pretty good one. I think
that's huge.
I think Notre Dame needed that. Yeah, and
Like,
he needed that.
He absolutely needed it. And he didn't even have like, it wasn't like, oh, he had like one miss hit in the game. Like he kicked well, like every single one of them was pretty good. Um, and that's the kind of thing that he had shown before. And just like when you haven't done it in a game, it's like, yeah, you feel the pressure and all of that. And like, especially too, like it's so funny because it's like, what are we doing getting these Australian kickers? It's like, yeah, they have a pretty good track record. That's why they're doing it. And I mean, I don't know that this is going to be like the total turning point for him this season. We'll see how he continues to go, but it shows you like he can be a weapon. Like the first 3 and out was like they were pinned. And if it's a bad punt, all of a sudden it's like you're basically giving them points if you have a bad punt there. And no, he had a good punt, took him back out, and it was like, set him up well. Then it was like, well, they're, the defense just has to do their job here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was like pretty huge. I mean, it's technically, I mean, I can't like field goal block as defense, but like getting a field goal block, even just at that point in the game, obviously the game's probably already over anyways, but still like,
it's good to have in your bag, right? Like it's something
Yeah.
that the opponent has to think about. And it is defense, but like Bryce Young, I mean, they
Young.
put him on specifically for field goal block, right? Like
Yeah.
that's something that they do for him. So I'm put him on that. Like, Faison dropping the punt, like the only thing you can say about that is like he hasn't played in the last 2 games. And then the first thing he does is catch a punt. Like maybe that's not the best, but like if he's your punt returner and he's healthy, then put him out there. Like it's kind of nitpicky, right? And it's very hindsight to say, well, maybe you shouldn't be out there. Like, I don't know. I don't have a big problem with that. And it's hard to get like, it's hard for me. Like, I can't really get on Biaggi or like handle the snap in the hold,
yeah.
Like, I'm not going to blame coaching for that. Like, that's literally, they do it every single practice. Like, it's not something that, like, I'm going to put that on a special teams coach. If it keeps happening, then maybe you can be like, hey, dude, like, you got to get your unit in order. But beyond that, I'm kind of, I'm kind of ambivalent about the special team stuff.
Yeah, I'd say, like, I don't think, like, you can blame all that on Biaggi. Like, I mean, certainly, too, like, a guy gets a block in the back when you made a good call to do the reverse. Like, it was a good game. Like, I don't think that's, all happening. I think there are certain things that you'd like them to kind of clean up, but I wouldn't put it all on Biaggi. No, like, I don't think so.
Yeah. Let's see. Jared May says Leonard well on his way towards Greg's 1,000 yards. Yes. We're monitoring. I mean, this is I like where this is headed. Purdue, the bad part about the Purdue game is that Notre Dame was winning by so much that Ryan Leonard got taken out at halftime. I mean, that could have been a huge number for him and a lot of other guys. So that's unfortunate on my way, but I mean, he's got to be Notre Dame's leading rusher at this point, right? I mean, he's
got 433 on the season. So like, I mean, yes, he is going to get 1,000 yards if he keep. He's averaging over 100 a game.
He is on pace.
he is. So, I mean, and
everybody laughed, Jamie. Everybody did.
Well, and the other thing is too, is that like, if he's doing that, like, yes, I understand there's a lot of other, there's a lot of other problems there too, but like, other than you, Greg, no one else was saying he was going to get 1,000 yards rushing. And if you add 1,000 yards rushing as a quarterback, that's significant. It's a huge weapon. So like, like people shouldn't take it for granted, like that is an actually like huge deal.
Yeah.
Like it is a significant deal. Love, I believe, yes, he's above Love now. So
He is about. I mean, look, I imagine that. Look, he won't keep up the pace. Probably, right? Just he probably won't. Wimbush never got there in 17. He missed a game. I can see Leonard missing a game. But it's just like
Louisville will be put like, I imagine Louisville will just, if they're not focusing on him as a runner, then it's a mistake.
right. Like you have to, like any good team is going to look at this offense and say, we're going to make you throw it a lot. We're going to make you be precise passing the ball, right? Because look, I mean, let's be honest. Like the things that, like the top level passing games that we're seeing, like Notre Dame's anywhere near that. Like they're just not.
Like
they're not even close.
They're below average, like
right.
well below average.
I said, the throw that he made to Bo Collins, the throw that he made over the middle to Chris Mitchell. Like teams are doing this.
Everybody's
multiple times a drive, right? Like the better passing.
Well, I don't know
teams.
multiple times a drive.
No, I'm saying the better passing teams. Like
Yeah.
they're doing this a lot. Like this is the trademark of what they do.
Like if you compared it to say Miller Moss and you saw like, you'd be like, Miller Moss is at a different level. But the one thing too is like Miller Moss can't run at all. Like that's not his game. So it's like, he better be elite in this one area because that's, what matters, right? So Miller Moss too, like 28 of 51, 5.5 YPA. Like, I mean, sorry, that's not getting it done.
And like 283 passing, but minus 27 rushing, right?
Yeah.
Like
so
Ray Leonard had more total yards than Miller Moss did in today. Now, granted, obviously that's
they're playing against a great defense. Like Michigan's got a great defense.
It's not like for like, right? I think the point we're making is like, look, they're not even close to where they need to be passing the ball, right? It's like not even debatable. So look, that's where they have to get, right? Like I saw good things from Chris Mitchell today, things that we haven't seen, things that he needs to be able to do. Like to me, like when I see first of all, the post route that they threw to if they threw to Chris Mitchell that got interference called, like Chris Mitchell isn't running free there, right? He's covered. Now it's a bad job by the DB to pull on him like that, right? He didn't handle that situation very well. And second of all, if Riley Leonard throws the same type of pass against NIU, it's either incomplete or you have a similar result, right? And then Notre Dame probably wins the game and they're 4-0 or whatever. But like Chris Mitchell, he's like, I just don't see the burner in there, where it's like you're cooking a guy. We haven't seen it, Jamie. I don't know that it's in there. Bo Collins, right? Like he toasts the guy. He gets behind the guy and he's not even in touch, right? So that's something to monitor.
I mean, I thought originally, I'm like, he got so open. I thought it was like a double move. But no, he just
he just ran by him. Yeah. He just ran by him, and the corner was sitting on it, right? You look, and look, credit to Denbrock, right? Like you throw the hitch, and then you just run by him because he's sitting on the hitch, right? So that's that's good offensive coordinating by him. So I as kind of just like a main takeaway of this team, and I opened the show with this. I think the good part is you don't know what Notre Dame's going to bring next week. You kind of can't. You got to just go week to week with like this is what they can do. We don't know the type of play that Notre Dame is going to come with against Louisville. It just that's the good part in my opinion. Is that it could look like kind of any kind of way on offense. They could have a breakout game. Who knows?
Yeah, I think what we know is that the defense will keep them in it.
That has been the constant.
The defense will keep them in it no matter what. And then the offense just has to, like, it's basically like you got to do enough. You got to do enough, right? And Also too, like that's a game where you have to have things. It is one of the biggest games on your schedule too. This is the game where you have like, hey, it's the sudden change, whatever we're doing. Like, where if you got a gadget play that's like, hey, we've been saving this up, we've been running this one thing off it. Now here's our counter to that all year.
Yeah.
This is where you do it, right? So there's all of that kind of stuff too. Because if you like, think about how the Stanford game in 2018 for Notre Dame, which it will, I mean, Notre Dame won convincingly at the end, but it was tight, like that whole game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the offense really wasn't having a ton of success. I mean, outside of like Dexter Williams broke that one run early and whatever. Like they weren't consistently moving the ball, and like they weren't doing stuff, but all of a sudden you just like, you throw in, right, you're up by 7, you get a pick from Tavon Coney, and then boom, you hit him with like the Alze Mack leaking out off of the roll to the other side, like for an easy walk-in touchdown. Like, this is the week you run those kind of things, right? But the thing is, it's a lot easier to call those things when things are going well and they're like the defense is on tilt and whatnot, and you got to get first down. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And then somebody mentioned in here too, right? Like there's a couple big injuries in the Louisville game. I got to catch up on that to see.
Yeah, they said a wide receiver went down and someone on defense.
Wide receiver, that's pretty big because they are already down Colin Lacey. So
yeah, so it's Sergio. Thank you to Sergio for contributing to the show here. Will this ever come up? Come on, let's go. There we go. Louisville with another wide receiver injury and a starter on D had lower leg. So we'll be monitoring that. What Jamie, this is a big game coming up. I mean, this is like truly game. Like Louisville's going to be top. What are they ranked now in the AP? I'm not even sure. What are they?
What is Louisville ranked in the AP?
Yeah.
They're top 20. They're 19th.
Top 20. They're 19th. Okay, so Notre Dame 18-19. This is a big game, right? This is a big game for Notre Dame. And look, you gotta win the game, right? And look, Marcus Freeman has been good in this situation, right? He has not been good with the MAC specifically, but you got a big game at home, right? It's not a night game, which is great job by NBC on that you did well. I think there's a bunch of other.
This was a Peacock game.
This is a Peacock game, really.
But they're doing it on purpose though, because that's how they've made before they made the bad games Peacock games. But it was like, people aren't going to stick around if whatever. But if you make like some good games, Peacock games, then people are going to be like, well, I got to subscribe to Peacock.
The other part too is like, now that they're a part of the Big Ten, like they've had more subscribers there. So it is what it is. It's a special game for us, Jamie.
Gonna be there.
Fun fact, I'm going to be there. This is a total accident. I'm going to be there. Jamie's going to be there. Fun fact for the people, Jamie and I have never met.
Never met in person.
I've never met in person. I talked to Jamie as much as like any other person.
Yeah. I'm basically like your second spouse as much as we talk.
You're my football spouse.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Yeah.
We talk like 2 times a week at least, if not 4, for throughout the year. But we're gonna be in the same place. We're gonna have to figure out the potting situation, the post-game situation there, Jamie. But we'll figure it out. But that's what we're gonna do. So that's the schedule. Louisville's coming up, top 20 matchup. It's going to be a great. I think the weather looks good. I've been monitoring. Kirk DA Fitness, thank you for the super chat here. It seems that most quarterbacks rarely get better later in their career when it comes to accuracy. What say you?
I think it's pretty. Yeah, it is pretty rare for guys to get more accurate. Obviously, like there's always the exception. Josh Allen, was inaccurate in college, and then all of a sudden he became much more accurate in the pros. Some of it's coaching and playing with better players. I think there's some of that, but I mean, if you look at Leonard's just straight up completion percentage numbers, they're good. Like they're good enough. Like he's not inaccurate there. The problem is like, what he's missing. Like he should have been like over 80% in this game.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the one problem, right? And like, missing that throw, which was like the end to Collins late, which Collins, yeah, he actually should have stopped and made a better effort on that, I thought.
Yes. I was going to say, like, a high performing passing game completes that pass because I thought the throw was fine, but Collins didn't know when to look, right? And I think that is a product of that specific play is a product of Riley Leonard is a transfer and Bo Collins is a transfer, and they are playing in an offense that they've never played in, and they haven't been working together for more than a couple of months. To me, that's what that is, because I think a receiver that knows the offense, that knows his quarterback, knows I need to get my head around and I need to settle in this hole right here. And Riley Leonard threw the ball the only place that the ball could be completed because there was a linebacker coming. Wasn't on the same page as Bo Collins. So that's where that is. What I would say about Riley Leonard is he can stay the same type of accuracy as far as the quarterback position and still get better because he, like I said, there's just a lack of understanding right now between him and the rest of the receivers. And he obviously lacks confidence, right? He obviously does. He can't be, there's no way that he is getting booed at home and he feels as sure of himself and confident throwing the ball as he could be. He's getting booed at home. He's played at home twice.
Yeah.
They lost to, he was probably getting booed in the first game too. Like he's been booed twice at home as the Notre Dame quarterback. Of course he doesn't have confidence, right?
I just want to bring this up because this needs to be way better. And I totally understand like being at the game, and if you're a fan and you're in the stands and Riley Leonard's looking terrible on the first couple drives, whatever, right? Like I totally understand like the people doing that, but like make some friggin' noise for the defense. Make some friggin' noise for the defense. Obviously, they didn't even need the noise that much to have help on third down or whatever in this game. But like, you're gonna play Louisville. Make it hard for them. Louisville hasn't played. By the way, Louisville looks great. They ain't played nobody. They beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech lost to Syracuse. Like, I'm sorry, Georgia Tech. We know that they beat Florida State. Like, Georgia Tech is fine. They're a bowl team. They're
you
not
gotta
a great.
Think different. Honestly, like they beat Florida State like closer than every other team beat Florida State.
Everyone else looked better against
the doors off them.
Yeah. So obviously big game for Cal Twitter to see if Cal beats Florida State. But like, I think no one should kind of overreact to like, them beating Georgia Tech, because I don't think Georgia Tech's that great, guys. They're not. Like, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're just not great at all. And Louisville has not played on the road this year. They have not. They haven't played any game on the road this year. They played two terrible teams to start. They played this one Georgia Tech game. It was like their first real game. So we really don't know how good Louisville is. We don't.
No.
And it's not to say Braum is a good coach. He's a very good coach. And their defense, they have some guys that are legit dudes on their defense. Like Quincy Riley might be the best corner that Notre Dame plays this year. Aston Gillott might be like, he's in the top 3 defensive linemen they'll play. So those guys are problems that they haven't really faced except for A&M, right? So you got to see like that's going to be different, for Notre Dame, and that's going to make it harder to score in those games. But like, you got to hope that Notre Dame makes another step on offense in this game too. And like you said, Greg, it's very Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what to expect with the offense, and we'll just see.
And I'll say this: if they don't score in the first quarter of this game coming up, and people are booing, bad job by you.
Yeah.
Just stop being like, to me, don't be babies about it.
This could be a very low scoring game too.
Yeah, like the team is the team. This is a win however you need to situation.
Yes.
Right. Like that's how it is. Right. You can, I mean, obviously if it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. If you're throwing the ball in the dirt, then yeah. But like, it's just, come on, the team has to, they got to find a way to win. And it doesn't matter what it looks like this week. In my opinion. So that's where it is. We're going to leave it there. Tomorrow I'll be back with my morning after recap. We'll look at some more stats. Look at the game back. I'll probably have time to watch the game again tonight. Rick Jenkins says it's not clear. Let me hold this up. Are the two of you going to meet, and what will that look like? Basically, we're both going to Notre Dame game. That's what that means. We're going to be in the same spot.
I mean, are we going to meet? I thought it was perfectly clear that we are going to meet.
We're both going to the Notre Dame game.
What is it going to look like? I mean, I don't think we're going to film it for you, Rick. But
first of all, I mean,
we'll talk about it after.
You can't film on campus. So
yeah,
that's the deal. So I'll be back with my morning after recap tomorrow morning at 10 Eastern time, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And I will be talking about the game some more. I'll have watched the game again, and it's going to be real fun. We're going to have a good time on to Louisville. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As always, if you like what you heard today, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. Soon, whenever it is, we are going live, just like I will be live tomorrow morning. So happy, have a good rest of your day, everyone. Notre Dame 28, Miami, Ohio 3. Notre Dame moves to 3-1. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.